Well, hello, my yarn smithing lovelies. It's really nice to be back with you. Here in central UK, it's really, really hot, but the studio's quite cool, so I think I might stay here for the day. So first things first, welcome to, there's some more free members over on the Patreon site. I had a little message from one of them to say they would like to support the channel financially, but they didn't want to commit to having to pay a monthly fee, which is actually something I hadn't really thought of. So what I've done, I've joined a thing called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can donate to the site to help support the channel from as much as you want to do, £1, $1, up to whatever. So if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy what I do, it would be lovely for you to give me a little bit of support to help me buy all this stuff behind that just gets piled up there. It really does. If you want to pop over to the Patreon site, you can join there as a paid member, and we're coming up to the end of the month, so I'm going to be giving some of this away. I've already given one lot away, and another way to support the channel is just like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you want me to look at anything particular. So today's topic, it's something I'm fairly passionate about. Now, I've been doing this an awful long time. I started to knit when I was 8. And if the person, a lady that we called Auntie Reenie, she wasn't actually my auntie, but she just lived locally, and we called her Auntie Reenie, and I used to sneak off there for her to teach me how to knit and to crochet. And I used to sneak so my dad didn't find out, because it wasn't kind of the thing that he thought that boys should be doing. So off I used to go and learn these things. If it hadn't been for Auntie Reenie, then I probably wouldn't be here. I probably wouldn't be doing these things. Also, my mum's best friend, Mabel, worked for a company that made the Queen's uniforms, and she used to do all the gold work on the Queen's uniforms. And she was the lady that taught me to sew. So again, without Mabel doing this, I probably wouldn't be here. So when Mabel taught me how to sew, she said, I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to teach you everything I know, as long as one day you promise to pass it on. Because if we don't keep passing it on to younger generations, these really old and couture techniques will be lost. A lot of these things are now being taken over and done by computers and machines, and handwork is completely gone. I was doing a lecture for some university students on pattern cutting. I'm going back a few years, and all the computers went down, and they were horrified, because I said, well, it's no problem, we'll do it by hand. They'd got no idea what I was talking about. And I think that's a bit odd that, they weren't being taught how to draft patterns. So I'm going to start doing a series of videos which to thank Mabel, and to thank Auntie Reenie, and to thank a lot of the madams in the ateliers that I worked in that passed a huge amount of their knowledge down to me. To thank them, I'm going to start to do little videos to pass things on. So today I'm going to look at doing some couture buttons, making them yourself. When I worked for a particular couturier in London years back, it appeared that I was quite good at making these buttons, but sadly that meant that's all they gave me to do. I was absolutely sick to death of it. What we used to do, we used to buy tweed to tailor from a company in Carlisle that supply a lot of the Paris couture houses, and they used to send us some of the yarn that they used to weave the tweed, and I used to make these buttons out of the yarn. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So I'll see you over at the table in a minute or two, and then hope that you'll have a go. I'll see you in a bit. So here we are over at the table. So this is what I'm talking about. These buttons that are made out of the same yarn as the garment that we're going to put them on. So in this case, this is going onto a knitted garment. They work better on something with a little bit of stretch in, because if we did this on a very tightly woven fabric that had got a machine sewn buttonhole, for example, eventually this would kind of get worn out. We used to do it sometimes by sewing these buttons in inverted commas to this side of the front band, and then we used to put a press stud behind and pop them together so that this wasn't going in and out of a buttonhole. But if it's a reasonably loose buttonhole and it's on a knitted garment like this, they actually work extremely well, and they stand up to quite a lot of work. Sometimes we'll sew some beads into there, we'll do all kinds of things. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This little jacket that I've done, I'll put a picture there for you. I'm going to put the pattern on the Patreon site for a little bit. You can go over there and buy the pattern, or if you're a paid member of the Patreon site, then that's yours included in the membership. So let's have a little look. Where can I put that? I'll put that there. So what we actually need, these are done crocheted, so what we actually need is some plastic rings. We can actually buy a bag of these plastic rings to crochet over now. You can buy those, I think these are from Temu, they cost next to nothing. You can also, which is what we used to do, we used to pop down to the local plumber's merchant and buy washers, tap washers, and we used to crochet over those. I've even known when we were really desperate and we were coming up to show time and things weren't finished, I've even known that we've actually cut circles out of cardboard and we've made them over those, but of course they wouldn't stand up for very long. So we need that, we need a crochet hook. Go a size down from whatever yarn you're using. This is DK, which would normally be a 4mm needle, so I'm using, I think in this case I'm using a 3.5 because I couldn't find the 3mm needle. So it's dead easy and really quick to do. I've got my yarn, by the way, on one of these yarn genies, that I've kind of recently discovered. I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I've only just started to use these, and it's been a bit of a revelation to me. So I'm working with a brighter yarn here, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So we're going to start off just by pulling a loop through and do 1 chain. Then I'm going to work 24 double crochets in to that ring. That's all I'm doing to start with. That's the first round. There's only 2 rounds in these buttons. So just double crochets, work over that tail so that you've got no ends to sew in. So first round, 24 double crochets into that ring. So then we're going to join with a slip stitch in to that first stitch and do just 1 chain. So we can now just cut that tail off that we worked over, and now we're going to do exactly the same thing again, but we're going to do long doubles this time, so sorry, singles this time. So we're going to pull up a loop, we're going to pull it up kind of fairly big like that and do a double, a single. I do get confused because in the UK we call that a double, and but I do tend, because most of my viewers are kind of worldwide, so I do tend mostly to talk in American. So we're doing long singles. So we're just going to pull up a long loop and finish off the stitch. Pull up a long loop and finish off the stitch. So we're going to keep going round, and with these long loop singles, make it so you can see it. With these long loop singles, we're going to now do 30 of those by going all the way around. So it's a bit awkward for me showing you this because I'm working at arm's length. So I'll see you when I'm back at the beginning. So we've been all the way round and we've done 30 of those longer loop singles. We're going to join that with a slip stitch into the first stitch, cut the yarn, so leave yourself a reasonable amount of yarn. So now we're just going to thread that onto a needle, and we're just going to go in every stitch around. We're going to work into the front, on the back, and the front and the back, all the way round to the beginning. It's fairly easy. You can also kind of do it this way if you want to. I used to get into trouble for doing that at the couture houses, and nobody could ever explain to me why I wasn't allowed to do it. And what's really weird is all of these years later, I still feel like I'm doing something a bit naughty by going in and out, so I'm going to carry on doing it the way that I was taught. So in and out, all the way around. There's something really quite soothing about just sitting doing this. What I often used to do was just sit and crochet into the rings, and then I would sit with these on my lap and do all the in and outs later. So we're nearly back to the beginning. You could have put a stitch marker there if you wanted to, but or you can count. So keep your finger through the back in there, and then give this a pull. So flip it over and then carry on pulling and pull all that together. So you can see that's the front, you can see the making of our button already. And this is the, I'll drop that, this is the back. So now we're going to thread that from one side to the other, give it a quarter of a turn, and then go back, give it a quarter of a turn, then go back, and then just give it an eighth of a turn, and we do that another quarter. Oops, it's alive. Huh? Give it a really good pull, and then we put the needle in from the back through to the front. And then from the front to the back, make sure you catch a little bit of something else so that you just don't pull that thread out again. And there's our little couture button finished. We then use this to sew it onto the garment. We could, you know, have put some beads around there. We can put some little crystals in the middle, which is sometimes what we used to do. We had a little thing with Swarovski that we used to use those in pretty much every garment that we did. So, you know, we can actually then use the tail then to sew it onto, oops, let's make it so you can sew it onto the garment. So that was that done, couture button. Really, really quick, really easy. It's one of those things I'm really surprised that you just don't see it anymore. So I hope you'll have a little go. I always think that, you know, you spend all this time working on a garment, and the thing that can spoil it very easily at the end is choosing the wrong buttons. So you know, on a piece of knitwear or on a loosely tailored jacket, it was called, you probably get from this the house that I'm talking about, we used to call it when I worked there a French cardigan, and they work really well, really well on those. So I'll see you back over at the computer in a minute, and hope you'll have a little go. So that was that really easy technique. It really does look very effective when you put it onto a garment, makes it just that little bit more special. Be careful with the choice of ring that you crochet around if you're going to be putting the article in the washing machine at some point. So, you know, don't use something that's going to break down like we used to do sometimes when we used cardboard. You need something with a little bit of stiffness to it. In Irish crochet techniques, we often do something that looks very similar to that, that's worked around a loop of yarn, but it's just not substantial enough to make a button out of. So hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe, it really does help out the channel. If you'd like to give me a little bit of support so I can carry on bringing these little make along videos and the reviews, of course, I'd be very grateful if you do that. So either buy me a coffee at the coffee site, or pop over to Patreon and join there as a member. If you want to pop over there and have a little look anyway, you can join as a free member and just have a look what's going on. The pattern for this little jacket will be available for sale on the Patreon site, so even if you're not a member, you can go and you can buy that. but the people who are already members will get that as part of their membership. So in the meantime, it's been really lovely to have you along with me yet again. Happy yarn smithing, love as always, and I'll see you ever so soon.